Hello. My name is Andrew Moore, and I was recently in Lima, Peru, where I spent a couple of months at a lovely Airbnb. Well, the Airbnb was okay, but I was in Lima for what would be considered summer in the northern hemisphere of the world. I didn't think about that, to be honest with you. So when I got to Lima, it was just sort of gray, like you're seeing here. And in a solid 2 months in the Barranco Arts District of the city, it was just like this. It was gray. But there's also generally, especially in older buildings, not like what you're seeing there on the left. That would be, a more modern building, obviously. There's no central heat or air. So the room that I was renting had its own bathroom, and that was comfortable and very inexpensive since we're in the height of this CV-19 sort of thing situation. And, it was cold. It was stone cement building that was just always cold. It never warmed up at all. I would sleep with a sweatshirt on and a beanie and under the covers, and everything just sort of had this kind of damp to it. It reminded me a lot of San Francisco before noon. Like, I lived in San Francisco for 8 years, so you have this gray fog, but afternoon that burns off, and it's a beautiful sunny day. But that never happened in Lima, and the other interesting thing is there was no wind at all. There was no breeze, even though you're right next to the ocean. I think because Lima sits on these cliffs that sort of front the sea. And yeah, so it was not very comfortable. You just never really warmed up. Anyway, they have a wonderful bike rental system called Lima City Bike, something to that effect. And you can register online, and I think it was like 18 soles to rent a bike for a month. But the thing is you've got to, if you want to rent it, or if you want to use the bike more than, what was it, 30 minutes, I suppose, you've got to check it into one of the stops, and then sort of reset and then pull the bike again. So for like 18 soles, you can ride around and all month. But I had to, it didn't go into Barranco, so I would have to walk from Barranco to the edge of Miraflores, is what you're seeing here. And Miraflores is a higher end neighborhood, and it's geared a little bit more for the tourists. But it's, at the same time, it's not touristy. Uh, there's other districts where I suppose there's more sort of tourist stops, must sees, must do's kind of thing. You'll see a little bit of that in this video, but I just took my, GoPro clone camera, and I had a bike mount for it. So I thought, well, this might be an interesting video. So the audio was jacked, and I always thought that I would do a sort of narration with this anyway. So here we go. We're riding through Lima. Now, a little bit back to the weather. I've lived in Seattle, and I've lived in Portland, and I've lived in Prague through the winters, where you just kind of get sort of this inversion effect where, nothing seems to change But Lima was profound in this way. It was very much like day after day after day, because there was no visceral change in the weather. There's no dynamic, it wasn't dynamic at all. You just sort of felt like you were living in this bowl of pea green, cold pea green soup. That's the way that I would describe it. Like a bowl of cold soup. And I don't like cold soup. Um, but, I've also lived on Mount Shasta where I had to, dig my way out of the snow. So there's no snow. It's not cold per se. It just kind of sinks into your bones and you never feel like you actually ever warm up. And also, again, this was the CV-19 stuff, so some of the skate parks were open, but only because I'm 50, but I still skateboard. And I bought a skateboard while I was in Lima, and I'm like, oh, great. Well, I'm going to hit these world-class skate parks because there's these wonderful skate parks in Lima. But you couldn't tell when things were going to be open, if they were going to be open. I took photos of other skate parks that I take a nice long walk to, and there's absolutely nobody in them, and they were closed for no real reason. And then, as you'll see in this video, one's open, and I'm surprised that it's open because I'd been past it before and it was closed, but it was only open for 4 hours a day. And there's some guy there at the door taking your temperature. The other thing that you might, which is, yeah, I don't know, it's just beyond me. Anyway, you'll also notice that you'll see people probably in this video with not only one mask, but 2 masks and a face visor. So, these people want to be good citizens, and it's not like other cities where you have a complex mix of culture. There is a heavy Chinese influence in Lima, and that goes way back. So you'll see that in their food, especially. But anyway, this road right here is a bridge going over a byway, and to the left will be the ocean. And I never actually even made it down to the ocean. As of this recording, I'm still in Peru, but I'm far north. I'm in way northern Peru. And, I've got an apartment here with my girlfriend where, the sun's up at normal sunup time, and I get a good blast of vitamin D in my face before I start the day. So I really appreciate that. And there's lots of breeziness. I'm close to the ocean. There are the cliffs, and there's an actual skate park there. Nobody could care less if I'm riding and without a mask or whatever the heck I'm doing. So I walk around. I'm not going to tell you where I am. There's no real reason. It's just no reason for it. But once you get out of this sort of megalopolis, nobody cares. It's a non-issue. Let's see. So, there's lots of beautiful green spaces here in between. You got the city to the right, and then there'll be these long strips of parks and walkways and bike paths. And then it's cliffs, and the cliffs drop down, and then it's ocean, and there's surfers out there. Pretty avid surf scene in the middle of this so-called winter. I'm very thankful for the experience. I chose Lima after 3 months in Medellin, Colombia, and I'm glad I did. It wasn't my first choice. I was planning on going to Ecuador instead. However, flights changed and my timetable changed, and I said, well, screw it, I'm going to Lima. So I went to Lima. Now, Lima is not by any means a small city. It's it has a population of about 10 million. And to be honest with you, I think that's the biggest city I've ever spent any real time in. Um, let's see, compare that to Prague. I think Prague is like 1.5. I don't know. It's 8 years in San Francisco, 3 in Seattle, 3 in Portland. Born in Alaska, raised in Hawaii. I've lived in Riyadh, Damascus, Singapore, London. London's got quite a few people, but I was a kid then. Anyway, Lima is fascinating in a lot of different ways. In that, um, I was surprised by things. Very nice people, very laid back. When you've got gray skies like this all the time, the people tend to not be so excitable. Uh, I'll compare that moving from Prague to Valencia, Spain, where in Valencia, they're very effusive, and I think the sun has a lot to do with that. That's my theory. That's been my experience. You go to sunny cultures, and people are more lively, jazzed up. Now, Lima in the summertime, I would suspect would be entirely different, but nonetheless, lovely people, very pleasant. My girlfriend is Peruvian, and we have this nice little, very comfortable, small little apartment, and I'm enjoying it. So, let's see what else. Okay, so one of the things that really struck me about Lima once I got into the see, this is all clean and very touristy, and there's more commercial parts of Lima that are absolutely fascinating. You can't move. The sidewalks are just stuffed with people selling just, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's astounding. And you watch yourself, and I'm a curious individual, so I go to places that I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily, but my Spanish is strong, and I'm curious, and I'm friendly, and I like to explore things. So what I'm getting at is there's markets in Lima that are just astounding. And what I mean by that is, so for example, you would go to, and some of this, what I'm going to say is some of this was similar in Medellin. So for example, you might have a little area where they're all antique shops, okay? And then you would have like a whole city block, and I mean a big city block. I don't mean I mean a massive, massive city block that had literally hundreds of tiny shops selling hardware. Every type of tool, wire, fuses, new, used, I mean, just on and on and on and on and on. And it was fascinating. I mean, it was like Home Depot's got nothing on these people. It was astounding. So I guess like if you were going to renovate your bathroom, you would take a list of things and you would go to that area where they sold home hardware things or wallpaper and it, man, it was absolutely astounding. So like I'm walking, and the sidewalks are stuffed with people, and they're selling snacks, and they're pressing juices, and they're blending stuff, and they're frying things, and they're, in the meantime, you can go and you can buy an 8-inch iron 45-degree elbow for your sewer system. I mean, like I've seen, like, who sells that? Well, there's a little tiny store right there that only sells those 45-degree 8-inch iron sewer elbows. Things like that. Just bizarre. You can't figure out how somebody could even make a living doing that, running that little tiny store, selling that specific item. Or it's like its cousin. So it's, the cousin to the 8-inch 45-degree elbow would be the 90-degree 90-degree 8-inch iron elbow that I'm not even sure exists, because you want to make sure it has good flow. So as somebody that likes tools and a former, nationally certified home inspector, I've bought my own properties. I've built off grid on Mount Shasta. See my other videos. Just as a matter of tools, it was, they're selling brand new chainsaws. Well, what do you need a brand new chainsaw for in Lima? Lima is built on a plateau. It's a desert plateau. There's trees here, but they've been planted after the fact. Who buys a chainsaw? Who buys a a Stihl chainsaw? A brand new, gorgeous, or Husqvarna, astronomical prices. Who buys that? And then you got to find the guy that sells a chain for the chainsaw. How can you make a living? You've got 4 brand new chainsaws that, what do you sell one a month? Maybe, if you're lucky. It was just really interesting to me to see how this sort of because it's like a completely foreign economy, yet not. It's capitalism, and it's like micro capitalism. I guess maybe that's a way that I could describe it. Very interesting. So here's some of these bikes, and you pull in. I've got to reset my time, I've got little bells on it. Beeper, beeper, beep. You plug in with your number, and this is a skate park. This is just one of the skate parks. It's a gorgeous skate park. But I had no idea that it was going to be open that day that I was doing this filming. Otherwise, I would have brought my board. So as it turns out, it was only open 4 hours a day, like 3 days a week kind of thing. Which is a shame, because everything else is open for everybody else to exercise, but not for the skateboarders. So, I don't get it. It was smooth and really well done. The skate park that I have access to here is pretty gritty, but I'm happy for it, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I can still move my body at 50 after all I've been through, but, it's fun. Go get a couple, front side grinds in, and a couple tail stalls, and a couple nose slides, and, then cut to the beach. Even though it's still winter, the water temperatures here where I am, which is like 14 hours north on bus from Lima, that's an adventure that I'll try and introduce into this recording here. But that was a hell ride. Anyway, the water at the beaches here is not particularly cold for me. I was raised in Hawaii, but so it's not bath water warm, but it's how do I say? It's chilly, but the benefit of playing in some waves and getting bounced around and it's I know water pretty well, and I know well enough that I don't want to get past the internal shore break and get into the real waves, because there's nobody else in them, and I can tell that the undertows and the currents are pretty strong, and I realized that I could disappear rather quickly and nobody would see me. I'd be gone. The water would just suck me out. So you do that risk reward thing, right? So when you look down off the cliffs here at Lima, and you can see the groups of surfers, they're out there, they're wearing wetsuits because it's much colder down here, right? But you can see, they're in groups and they're looking out for each other, that kind of thing. Whereas if I were to get a boogie board and get out past because I like boogie boards, I can surf, but they're not surf quality waves where I'm at, If I were to get out past this long flat shore break, I into some real waves. I could be gone pretty quickly. So that's it. I'm having fun doing what I'm doing, and that's fine. Yeah. So you'll see people exercising. They're out riding bikes and they're jogging with those things on their faces. I don't get it. I don't play. You know. Um, I'm far more interested in breathing well. But this whole bike thing's kind of fun. I highly recommend it. I recommend Lima as a whole. The other thing that I found interesting is, I rented on Airbnb, and the options, because I'm a budget traveler right at this point. I haven't built up the assets post divorce that I would like to. So it's just me. I'm just taking care of myself, right? So it doesn't cost me too much. But I'm always, price comparison, and I like. Okay, what am I trying to say? I could do fancy, right? But then I'd be in a sanitized environment. I wouldn't be. How do I say this? I wouldn't be getting the full experience. I'd be getting a tourist experience, and that's rarely what I'm after. You can see one of my other videos on an Airbnb review in a pretty rough area in Medellin. Would I do it again? Oh, hell yeah. Did it drive me crazy? Oh, hell yeah. Were people screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning out on the street breaking bottles? Yeah, that happened, But I also got to see things that I would have never seen otherwise. Here, not so much. Okay, it's a lot more sane. It just is. I think it has to do with this city itself being further removed from things. I don't know. It's Again, it's winter. It's in the middle of the CV19. I don't know how the city changes in the summertime. I don't. Again, it might have to do with elevation. Medellin's higher. The weather is much more dynamic. I mean, you just have rain showers, immediate rain showers. I think Medellin is much smaller and much more concentrated as well. The Lima itself is a large spread out city. So you have areas of concentration and areas of commerce, but then the people head out. This guy that was running here on my left, in that red shirt, that maroon shirt, that guy was running, man. I was cheering him on. Vamos, vamos, más rápido, más rápido. Yeah, I was giving him props. That guy was running, man. Anyway, so as I'm seeing this video, it's very chunky and playback as I'm trying to give you this narration. So if it fits, if it sinks, it sinks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I just want to put this together and get this out to you. But anyway, so I cut into Miraflores here. I really enjoyed a lot of the architecture. I'm a big fan of architecture. That's one of the reasons I chose to live in Prague, was because, Hitler never bombed the city. This architecture, cost of living, all those things are affordable, interesting, varied. Again, this is a more wealthy area of the city, Miraflores. This is where you might find, or where you would find, higher end restaurants. I chose Bronco, the Arts District, because it's the Arts District. I like painting. I like making music. I like things that are interesting and cultural. And what I really liked about Bronco was there was Spanish colonial buildings and this type of architecture that it was. Some of it was under renovation. Some of it was looking really rough. And to me, that's interesting. But the painting and the murals and all those sorts of things were very well done. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm still going to make a video on, a montage of sorts of the street art of Barranco and the street art in Medellin. Really, really, really good art. I've noticed both in Medellin and in Lima, there's a sort of is it anthropomorphic? When the imagery kind of blends with not just nature, but with you know, you get sort of like the Jaguar Man kind of thing, and elements of female form with a butterfly, that kind of stuff. So I really enjoy that. There's some bikes there on the wall. Yeah, so I loaded in all these clips and listened to a little bit of it, because I'm babbling to you through a lot of this. And la la la, I might even be singing too, so I saved you that terror. But then I separate the audio from the video clip and then kick out the audio and do this narration. So this is all old, all their version of cobblestone, which I'm not sure what kind of stone it is. It's not limestone because that would be too soft. No, I don't know. But you get some of these older elements. Again, I like the architecture. I like rooftop decks. Again, this is a desert, which I had a discussion with some of my roommates that were sharing this big house in Barranco, and I was wondering, so what chieftain, or when you're thinking like ancient ancestors of the Lima locals, planted his staff or his spear in the ground and said, "Here we will create Lima, and Lima will be the capital of our country." I know nothing about history, so, but it's a desert plateau, and I'm wondering if he didn't have a conciliary, or a second in command, or a secret advisor whisper in his ear, it's like, dude, maybe you want to make this a little bit further north, where there's some more vegetation. We're not actually on a desert. So I don't know if that happened, or if at one point, a couple thousand years ago, that was a big rich jungle, which is entirely possible too. Maybe they just ate everything, and burned everything else and said, well, shoot, we better start digging up concrete. I don't know. It's a big city. It's a very interesting city. It's not a city that, well, Miraflores is one thing. So you might be looking at this traffic and going, oh, no problem. That looks really graceful. It's not. That area, no problem. I'd be happy to drive in Miraflores. Anywhere else in Lima, I would not want to drive. And especially, well, it's sort of similar with the motorcycles in Medellin. Man, nothing but, see there, I got to stop my bike again, make sure I'm not over dinging because they'll charge you. You'll actually get charged if you don't return the bike within that set amount of minutes. So I just got to check it in, and then I've got to recheck it out. That's all I got to do. And there's so many stops, it's actually really convenient. But as I was talking about, the motorcycle, oh man, they are nothing but respect. I wouldn't even want to ride a motorcycle where I am right here. I would, and I'm considering seeing if I can work out renting one of these moto taxi things, It's a motorcycle in the front, but like a trike in the back. And I think I'd be bored with it in a couple of hours, so I wouldn't even need a full day. But I just kind of want to ride one to feel because I've had a number of motorcycles. I've had over 10, street bikes, not dirt bikes, street bikes in San Francisco and Seattle. Anyway, So to rent one of these motor taxis would be interesting. Um, so yeah, let's see. We gotta pull that bike back out, and then we're gonna continue through Miraflores. Now, one of the things that I was looking forward to doing in Lima, and I've not yet been able to accomplish, even where I'm at now, is finding good deals on silver, because Peru is the world's second largest producer of uh, silver. Oh, surprise, surprise. I love silver. I'd like to buy some more silver. I'd like to invest in silver. And like I have before. And man, I thought I had some good connections in sort of like pawn shops, some great pawn shops, some great stuff. I mean, I'm sure if you took the time, the energy, and you wanted to haggle, you could come in and I mean, you can buy used silverware. I mean, I know where this stuff is at. If you're interested, go ahead and drop me a line. But I'll take you on a tour or finder's fee of 10%. But yeah, so I'd go in and I found this one store that I really liked, and I hit it off with this lady in there, and she told me one thing, and then when I came back ready to buy with, a bunch of cash in my pocket, she wasn't there. It was some other lady, and it's like, I busted out the calculator and the scale, and she did not want to play ball. Or she was happy to play ball, but was very abrasive and didn't come anywhere close to what I've been speaking with the other woman about. So I'm like, I'll keep my money and hopefully, meet some purveyors of silver up here. Because most of the mines are in the north of the country anyway. So that's fine. That's fine. Take my time. Whatever, because I want to do business with people that want to do business with me, and it's like I'm a straight shooter, but I'm not gonna pay triple the international spot price for your secondhand mismatched silver jewelry, because you're telling me that's going to be the closest to spot, the international spot price for mismatched silver jewelry that probably someone stole in the first place. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that. So I merrily walked out and went and bought a pastry. Now let's talk about food. Okay, in Barranco, I actually prefer Barranco to Miraflores. To me, it has more character. You know what I mean? And in that character, you'll find restaurants that are small but probably half the price that they are in Miraflores. And there's some very, very solid geographical boundaries. It's not like the other side of the tracks, it's more like the other side of the freeway. When you go across the freeway and you're in Barranco. And their pastries are delicious and elegant, and some hamburgers that were just really fresh and rich, and has their own types of salsa and stuff, and their own bread that they bake that morning. And there's lomo salado, which is it's like a Chinese stir fry with beef, like a beef stir fry with a side of rice. It's very Chinese, or reminiscent of Chinese. I don't want to insult anybody. Try and get some of that street art in there for you. And architecture, I'm just pedaling along. Nice stuff, huh? See that? See how clean it is? Well, yeah, this is the tourist and the higher end district, and take care of their plants. And there's this sort of guardia kind of people that are on almost every street corner, to sort of assist you and keep an eye on theft or things like that. seemed like an overabundance of these kind of people that just sort of were kind of nosy. Like, um, you don't need one of these people, especially in the parks. It's in the middle of the day. You don't need one of these people every 50 feet, just kind of mulling around and doing nothing but wearing a vest and, you know, certainly weren't very friendly. Those people weren't very well. I wouldn't be either if that's what I did all day. I stood in a spot and I just watched people have fun. Anyway, you get to know me, you'll find that I get on my little tangents. But all the best to them. Yeah, so good little restaurants, lovely pastries, good coffee, nice people, accommodating people. Sometimes a little wary. Um, See Plateria right there? That's a place that would sell silver. But I didn't find any of it. I'm like, why? Who would buy this? I mean, if you're buying something because it's beautiful or artisanal or that I understand, that I get. But I want to buy as close to spot prices as possible. You know what I mean? So if you're selling like these old giant silver clunky rings that really don't have any inherent beauty to them, or mismatched silverware, I'm going for as close to spot price as possible. And if you're asking me for 3 times for spot price, and I'm ready to do business, I don't understand that. And they really couldn't care less. So more power to them. You know, um, you know, when I lived in Saudi Arabia, my father had an international contract in Riyadh for the Saudi government. And my mother and I would go to the gold markets. And the gold markets is where you would bargain. You know what I mean? As my mother would say, you would dicker. So, and they always treated us very well. And, my mother came back out of Riyadh with quite a bit of gold. That was later stole by drug-addled family members, but not family members, step-family members. But you get my point. These people didn't really, at least at shop, they weren't very interested. And I got a couple of price quotes from some other shops, and, I would take the weight, and I'm like, it's just not there. Here where I am, it's cheaper, but I'm still not finding what I'm looking for. And in Spanish, what I'm looking for are ingots. I'm looking for small bars of formed silver, as close. I'm not even looking for coins. I'm looking for stuff that is close to spot price as possible. Now, my girlfriend gave me what's called a tumi. It's a Peruvian figure of sort of a doctor, and this is beautiful silver, and it's made from finely spun silver. I mean, it is a work of art. In fact, it's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever given me in my life. It's the most thoughtful, beautiful, and I mean, it's just a really, really well done piece. And that's not what I'm looking to buy. But as a gift, I'll repeat it, it's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever given me. It's about 8 inches tall. It's just finely spun wired silver that's, it's gorgeous. I can't imagine even attempting to try and make that myself. I mean, it is craftsmanship. But when you're just looking for block, look, I just find me a 3, 5, 10-ounce blocks of silver. It's not here. I haven't found it yet. And I've looked for it, and I've asked, and people just, no. You might, they give you suggestions, and you go and try and hound dog their suggestions, and go look for something. No. I'll give you another example. I found a guy selling, these very simple but still beautiful rings and he makes them on site. And it's like it's a round ring, man. I mean, there's nothing, and it's you want it like 5 times the spot price. So I don't, and I try and negotiate. It just doesn't really. You kind of get a feel for people when you can negotiate a little bit, and you go kind of hard line. Certainly not being rude. I mean, they want to do business too, but I don't understand it, especially when you're so close to the sources of silver. But anyway, it was a fantastic time. I'm glad I did it. I got a lot of work done. I'm a freelance writer, and I do web stuff and things of this nature. And since I've been here, I've also become a certified coach. I want to move into executive coaching. I think I have some pretty unique life experiences. Well, I know I do, that I can fold over into helping people that are trying to get more out of their life. Because I've certainly put my butt in the wind, taken my risks, and been well rewarded for it in experiences. You get to a point in life where, I'm not living for myself anymore. I'm trying to take all this internal work and put it back out into the world and help people that want to, I'm modeling people that have helped me. And the people that have helped me have been other writers and other adventurous types and curious kitty cats. And that's what I like to do. So I'm excited about this move and what I'm trying to build, by helping others. So let's see. This is kind of coming to a close here as we wait for the light to change. Move across the street into this sort of flatland area. Again, not smooth at all, but this is where I met some other skateboarders and played on the curbs a little bit here. Nice guys, really nice guys. Decent skateboarders. And again, excuse me, I think you'll see one of these. They're everywhere. These guards that just sort of like, they're not really security. They're just kind of like, I don't know. To be honest with you, it felt a little oppressive. It's like, why do I'm American by birth, but I've lived in a lot of other countries, and you just kind of like, why are you just standing there watching me? It's like, give it a break. You got enough cameras. That's what they feel like. They feel like they're human cameras, and they're connected by walkie-talkies, and it's, So this is that sort of flatland, because like the people could skateboard here, but they couldn't skateboard in the park. They're like, why do you have the park? If you see what I mean? You can tell that the curbs have been well skated. So it's, why do you? I have a hard time when I can't apply logic to situations. It doesn't make any sense. Isn't that beautiful? There you go. Beautiful. I bet in the summertime it's absolutely gorgeous. Would I go back to Lima? Absolutely. I would make sure that it was the summertime, and I would probably have a nice hotel room and do something like that. Do something a little bit more touristy. Or I do something 3 stars instead of 2 stars at least. I don't know. But lovely people, interesting food, wonderful varieties of food. I mean, I didn't even scratch the surface. Out of everything, though, I found these commercial districts the most fascinating. The most fascinating. And when it was time for me to leave Lima to come up here north, and that was, I'll tell you this. I've got a few moments left. I'll tell you this. I had a reservation. The ticket was paid for. Okay, I had a location to go meet the bus. You couldn't find it. It wasn't there. It wasn't at the advertised place that it was supposed to be. Nothing was updated. Nobody would answer the phone. I'm panicking, right? Because I'm like, I gotta get to my next Airbnb. And it took me, it took me 2 taxi cabs, okay? And then I found some of these guards that I'm slightly complaining about, and I bugged them until they helped me figure out where the actual place was. And then see, now I'm eating my own words. Then they flagged down a cab for me that had like the door fall. I'd never been in such a crap car, but I give the guy all the credit in the world, man. He's still making money with this thing. I mean, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it was on the road, let alone I shoved my world in the back seat and, rushed to get to the bus. So now, see how you work things out with yourself just by this little dissertation here. I'm wondering why those people exist when they saved my butt in me getting out of the city. How about that? But it was hell, man. I had this big duffel bag, and I had my computer bag and a camera bag because I had presents from my girlfriend to be, and and an exercise mat and a skateboard. So I'm like trying to walk through these streets with just crowded with people, and where's my bus? And finally got it figured out. You had to use Google Maps Street View to actually find the place, and it said it was only for cargo, but all we could do was take this last final shot, and all glory to the high. I jumped in this cab, and he got me right in, and they loaded up my luggage, and then I had 14 hours. It was a double-decker bus, and I thought, well, maybe I would get to see some of the coast, but no, it was pitch black, driving through the night. But I had reserved the seat above the driver. So I'm on a double-decker bus. I can see everything. I can see better than the driver can. And it was the most harrowing, terrifying 14 hours nonstop. Because I couldn't even use the bathroom because I'm jammed to the seat, and I've got all these bags that there's no way that I can move this stuff to even get into the bathroom and carry all the bag. It was just like, I just buckled in, man. But there was, it was terrifying. I mean, this guy's crossing round corners of double yellow lines with, and then there's like the rickshaw moto taxis on the side of the road, and it's like, it was I did not sleep. But I arrived safely and on time. My girlfriend to be was there and picked me up in her car, and we went to the beach house that I'd rented. So after stopping at the grocery store. And then finally, when we got into the beach house, met the Airbnb owner, that's when I took I finally had a chance to use the bathroom. So that was, but how many people have done that? How many people have taken that bus 14 hours north? Not many, but I have. I chose to do it. I could have taken a plane, would have taken an hour and a half, but no. Sometimes I gotta take the more interesting path. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little adventure through Lima, Miraflores, and Bronco. My name is Andrew. Goodbye.